Welcome to WonderFest World Stream Series. If you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you just subscribe to our channel. If you're on Facebook, like our page. I'm sure you already do. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Arlene. I'm your host for the WonderFest World Stream Series. Our goal is to spread empowerment through art. Before I get started, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I forgot I don't need these. So I just need to have a disclaimer. There's been some construction happening in someone's apartment around me, the condo around me, and if you hear some knocking, that's what that is. Anyway, I'm going to start off a song, and after I perform, I'm so thrilled to have a good friend of mine, Tom Forth, join us from Mississauga. He is one of our incredible supporters for our World Stream series. Always see his name up, and he's always giving some comments and some feedback to our artists. And I can't wait for you guys to hear his music. It's incredible. All right, so this song is one of my first songs I released. It's called I'm Worth It. Today, she's looking at me in the mirror, saying I gotta see her clearer. She's starting to come out. She says she's happy as can be. It's like a natural ecstasy, and I should try it sometime. And she says I will be free if I listen to those words that she keeps telling me, and I believe that I'm worth it. There's a love in her beautiful brown eyes. There's no room for darkness or lies. And she wants me to know that I'm living the life that I wanted to live. I just need to learn to give more credit where it's due. And she says I will be free if I never let nobody take advantage of me, and I believe that I'm worth it. Oh, I'm worth it. You see, no one wants it like I do. For her, I'll always stay true to whatever life brings my way. Oh. She says, remember to talk to me every day. Those negative thoughts away. You see just where it goes. Oh, I'll take you to your destiny. She says, just trust me and you will see your God-given potential. And she says I will be free if I never let nobody take advantage of me, and I believe that I'm worth it. Oh, I'm worth it. I am worth it. Yes, I am. That song was called I'm Worth It. You can find that on Spotify, actually a Spanish version. Well, thanks to Carla Casanova. She helped me translate that into Spanish. And now I'm going to call on our featured artist for today, Tom Forth. Hey!
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
How are you doing? I'm good. Thank
great.
you so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so thrilled. Our sound check sounded incredible, and I'm so excited for the viewers to hear what you got.
Awesome.
All right, so I'll let you get started.
Thanks so much. Here we go. Thanks so much. On to song number 2. This one's called Cove. Well, there we go. Thank you so much.
That was amazing.
Thank you very, very much. So first time I've ever done that.
So I'm curious about the tracks. Are those something that you created? Is that something you got collaboration
so
on?
so how this all started, I started recording music back just before COVID hit. As luck would have
Yeah.
as luck would have it, I finally went out and you know what, for the first time in my life I had some music that I really wanted to write, and so I figured I got all the equipment and I started recording it. And so these are basically like the tracks that I've got right now. I've they're acoustic guitar, and it's written for between 2 and 4 parts.
Oh
So
wow.
when I was in high school, I had an amazing teacher who ran one of the best guitar programs, actually probably the best guitar program in Canada. His name's Alan Smith.
Okay.
And what we did was we did guitar ensemble music, like classical guitar ensemble. So it's that 4 part guitar. So when I started writing music, it just kind of came out like that. So I've been, this is my first ever live performance. So I'm kind of trying 3 different ways through these 3 different songs, and we'll see
Okay.
what works. But eventually this is probably going to morph into like a looper sort of situation, which is what I had been working on before I had some technical difficulties last week and resorted to this approach.
There's something about guitars when they harmonize together. I just love hearing that. Like they'll follow each other. Um, it's like it's just such a when you hear people harmonize, it's very common. But when guitars harmonize and what you
Yeah.
did there, wow.
Thank you. So yeah, it's especially that last tune, Cove, is
Hmm.
really, it's really built, and that one is a full 4 part guitar. Like the first song, for a ramble, is just 2 parts, and it's just me and a looped backing track.
Right.
But that second tune, part of the reason why I kind of went with the name Cove is it kind of feels like that. Like
Oh yeah.
there's all these little hidden places where you can find notes and put notes, and you can really get carried away building harmonies that don't exist. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. Just that one word could really set up where you can imagine yourself when you listen to your song. Because I saw greenery. I felt like I was somewhere peaceful,
that's what
basically on a nice stroll.
that's what I really hope for pretty much all of my tunes. That's exactly the goal. Is
Mhm.
I want to take you to that place, and if I've done my job, yeah, like they're little guitar tunes, but they're really personal to me. They're from a very personal part of my own journey, and
Mhm.
they're kind of the story of my steps of how I got better. So I like to think that when you listen to them, yeah, it's amazing that you picked out the harmonies and that kind of flourish out in people and stuff like that. It's stuff that I do, and it's amazing that it was heard. So
Yeah, it's incredible. And we for our WonderFest World Stream series, we like to have different topics, and you were mentioning that music has really helped you throughout this time, and throughout the past. Talk to us about what it's done for you during COVID, and also I guess what it's doing for you recently or pre-COVID.
yeah, no, it's what music is. 1 foot at a time is my Instagram handle, and why that's my Instagram handle. It was actually something my dad used to say to me. My dad was sick for a very long time with one
Mhm.
illness after another, and he just kept hanging in there.
Wow.
And he never you couldn't get him down. And he always said his secret was that he took things 1 foot at a time, one step at a time. And so I found myself battling a pretty severe bout of mental illness, and it really kind of tore a streak right through my life. I went from working. I was in restaurants for years. Actually,
Mhm.
I completely excised music from my life, which might be part of why I got as sick as I did.
Right.
Um, but because I didn't have anything in my life that made me feel good for a long time. What I did is I did what a lot of people do. I worked and I worked and I worked, and I tried to provide for my family, And the reality of working life now and restaurants where I was at was 60, 70, 80 hour weeks. um,
Hmm.
and if you do that long enough, that can really leave you without any of the wellness tools and the things that a wellness tool is something I think of as something that just brings joy to your life, that brings resilience to you, right? Something that
Yeah.
makes you feel good.
Right.
And when I got really sick about 4 years ago, um, I didn't have anything in my life. If you had to see me in my 20s, I was a pretty fit dude. I did a lot of sports. I was in university. I was improving myself and playing in bands all the time and having a blast. And then I graduated and decided to get a real job. And you yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you don't know what that entails. And I wish
Yeah.
if I could say something to myself way back then is, keep playing in a band, or
Hmm.
keep running, or keep something in your life that's for you. Because 80-hour work weeks and two young children, you lose that. And then
Right.
when you do get sick with something like mental illness, um, you don't have that reservoir to draw on for your
Hmm.
resilience, right? When I first started back with music, um, if you follow along with my posts on Instagram, you probably heard a little bit of this, but I hadn't played for years, and I went and saw this fantastic band in New York, with a bass player named Leonard, and I hadn't played bass in years, and my brother had dragged me down to New York basically to see this band because he was like,
Wow.
it's something will get Tom out of it. And I went with no expectations at all. Um, but it did. It got me out of it. And not the way that I wanted. Like, that was just, and it wasn't long after my first nervous breakdown, and I was just
Right.
off work. And but it lit a little fire, and I didn't know I had a couple of years to go that were real hard. Um, but when I was finally able to kind of lift my head from my illness and extricate myself from
Hmm.
this basement, um, you know, I remembered that performance, and I remembered a few other performances, and I remembered that music was something in my life that I knew made me happy at one point in time.
Right.
But when I first started playing a year ago again, it did not make me happy. And
Wow.
the first 6 months of it was an exercise. It was just anything I could do. I tried everything. When my my particular flavor of mental illness that got me was a lovely mixture of a panic disorder, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. So what I was always doing is I was always fighting off my panic attacks,
Okay.
and they were ceaseless. They would start in the morning, not long after I was awake, and they would go all day. And so I'd walk for a long time, and I'd do whatever I could to distract myself. And then eventually, I started picking up the guitar, and you know, I actually was looking at my posts last night from the beginning of this new journey, and I'm like, wow, am I sloppy? And there's no positive in the first few posts. When I started playing again, it was like, this sucks and I'm terrible. But I knew that it made me happy at some point.
Right.
And um and you know it it was one of those really fortuitous things that really early on I took those steps and I started playing again. And then one thing led to another, and music introduced me to some amazing people. And all of a sudden, here I am working and playing in gigs, and man, I never want a real job again. covid
But
covid covid or not.
yeah, like
uh,
a real
um,
job. I'm curious to know, when you went to New York with your brother to see the band.
mhm.
Do you remember what you felt when you saw, like, when that bassist, or what you discovered about yourself, other than that you love music? But do you recall
yeah i
any thoughts, any feelings?
Yeah, I talked to him. Because my brother actually lives in Finland, so
Oh wow.
a trip to New York to meet my brother, he was it required a lot of moving parts. It was
Yeah.
but this band in particular, like these guys, they're called Leonard's Many Moods, and like Prince used to go and see them when he went to New York.
Wow.
They're that good. They're like drop your jaw, like probably one of the 2 or 3 best shows I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And but at the time, I was just like, I could never do that. How are they hitting all those notes? How are they
Right.
like it was alien to me. I was not a musician in my mind or in any real way when I
Hmm.
walked into the club that night. I was just someone that loved music. But watching him play, it was, the same thing as the first time I heard Billy Sheehan, or the first time I heard Victor Wooten, or Jaco Pastorius, right? Like it was that level, and it stuck with me, and I kept a video of it on my phone of
Wow.
just him just shredding a slap solo,
Yeah.
and I watched it and I watched it and I watched it, and I never thought I'd be able to do that sort of stuff. And I can't play like him, but there are a few who can,
Right.
and it's pretty cool. We've actually struck up a relationship in the last little while.
That's so
Um,
cool.
I'm working on trying to bring some funk up to Canada here.
Wow.
Yeah, but like, sorry, that's a long way to kind of
No,
go about
but
answering your question. But
that's what I was curious about, because sometimes there's pinpoints in our lives where it's like, that's when I decided I wanted to do this, or that's the performance that inspired me to do something, and it's very significant to everybody. So I just wanted
yeah,
to
it
get
was.
that from you.
It certainly was that, but I definitely didn't realize it at the time.
Hmm.
That's how I
Yeah.
put it, right? Like it's yeah, like I walked up and I remember introducing myself to him, and I told him the same thing. I've met a couple of like my idols over the time that I wasn't playing, and I would always tell them that I used to play bass.
Wow.
That's actually what I used to call myself when I was sick, because I was a used to, because I used to do things.
But do you have that name now, or are you a doer? You're a doer now.
Well, you know what? I'm a trier. How's that? I'm a trier. I try to do my best when I can and how I can.
Hmm.
And you know what? As long as I stick to that particular recipe for happiness with me, it seems to work really well, and it seems to put me in places that make my life better rather than stepping them away from what I want my life to be.
Oh, I love it. I'm hoping that the people that watch this and hear that, they're moved and inspired to do something that'll make them happy, especially during
I
this
hope so.
time.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's definitely first and foremost in my mind, right? Because
Hmm.
um, I am that mental health guy. I ran a blog about my experience with the disease. I'm an advocate, an active advocate of it. I speak about mental health whenever and however I can to whoever will listen, because it is something that it's doing an awful lot more damage to our society than we think.
Yeah.
And especially, my fear is that, yeah, coming out of COVID, we're already kind of hearing hints about how bad things like suicide and addiction are.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm afraid for what we're going to hear down the road. But things like music, things like reaching out for the positive in your life, and
Right.
it might not be music for somebody. We discussed it earlier.
Yeah.
it could be shuffleboard. It could
That's
be
true.
yeah, it
Just
could be
something
fishing.
to create some enjoyment. Actually, an artist we had from New Brunswick was saying that a step to better your mental health situation is like 20 minutes of active activity, or active
Big time.
um, anything. So yeah, like for me, sometimes playing piano makes me sweat, like, or singing. So just stuff like that. So I'm hoping that you really hit home with a lot of our viewers, and
I
yeah,
hope so. Thank you. Yeah.
and your story is incredible, and thank you so much for being open to sharing that with us
I think
in
we
the
have
world.
to. In the end, that's all we really have is our own story, and I think that's kind of the one of the things that's wrong. Why everybody's so unhappy is, I think right now we don't feel like we can, right? You know,
Yeah,
people people shouldn't look at me and tell me that I'm brave for sharing my story with mental illness. They should be
it
like,
should
yeah,
be
man, I didn't know that. I learned something. Thank you, right? And
right.
then they can share a story with me about something they maybe thought was something they didn't want to talk about, and
That's
they'll
true.
they'll
I
generally
like
find it way
that.
better.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Talk to us about your night. Actually, before we get into your last song, where we can find you all over the internet, but you've also got some music on Spotify.
Yep, yeah. So
Yeah.
I've got 7 tunes now on Spotify, and they're all in this vein. They're all acoustic guitar between 2 and 4 part. But basically, what they are is, I talked about my panic attacks. One of the most effective tools that I had was walking, and I happen to live near some amazing places here in Mississauga, where you'd walk in these beautiful forests, and
Mhm.
really, what I want these songs to be is just sort of a reflection of how I feel and how I felt, you know going through this time in my life, and the walks are kind of my inspiration. So each tune, I hope, is a little bit of a journey with some different things. I like things to kind of build up and fade in, and just like you're walking through a forest. You may not get it
Cool.
from the first time, but yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think I'll listen to it. I usually listen to instrumental stuff in the morning to kind of ease my
Aw,
way into the day. So I'll definitely start
awesome.
a day.
Yeah, so yeah, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Tom Forth. Or if you just want some good vibes, you can see me on Instagram at 1 foot at a time, where I just keep track of all the good stuff in my life, and
Awesome.
you'll find some cool stuff on there, I think.
Excellent.
Some smiles, I hope.
Talk to us about your last song, Two
All
Step.
right, so my last song is called Two Step. It's basically 12-bar blues kind of done my way.
Oh, nice.
um, so it's a 12-bar progression that I just sort of develop a melody over, and you'll hear little bits of the first 2 songs in this.
Oh,
So these three are all kind of 3 parts of a movement, and
cool.
so this is the more, this is kind of my fun one. I'm a little bit more improvisational than the other two, and I hope everybody likes it. I hope it brings some smiles.
I bet they will.
Thank
Take
you,
it
Arlene.
away. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on.
It was our pleasure. I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad that you were able to perform your songs for us.
This is something that I started in a room that I didn't know if anybody would ever listen to, and then I put a couple of notes together. I was actually just trying to learn what I was doing and how to record, and one thing led to another, and these songs, once they started coming together, they've taken a life of their own, and I'm so thrilled that you gave me the opportunity to perform them for the first time. I hope people like them, and I hope I learn how to do them better the next time.
Oh, stop. You did them so fantastic. And I'm hoping to see you in person very soon.
Absolutely.
Mal and I will come socially distanced, drive by or something, maybe like go for a walk or something around your area.
All right, we've got wonderful paths, and rollerblade.
100%, we rollerblade all the time.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tom, and stay safe out there. All the best and have a great weekend. Thank you again.
Thank you so much again.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
That was Tom Forth. Make sure you guys check him out on Spotify. I'm going to follow him as soon as we get off on this broadcast. Thank you so much. If you would like to donate to the show or the artists, you can check out our paypal.me/letsmakegood website. And again, our shows happen every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. On Sunday, I'm thrilled to have one of my vocal/piano students perform. She's in her early teens, and she's going to be sharing songs that she wrote. So again, make sure you guys follow Tom Forth on Instagram. This was his handle. And then he's also on Spotify. And if you'd like to follow me, I'm at Arlene Official Music and Let's Make Good Productions. And I just want to give a shout out to Kat. I miss you. You do such a way better job than I do behind the scenes. And we'll see you on Sunday. Have a great weekend, friends. Bye.